I thought it was a horror automate game setup. Guy tries to romance ghosts to survive, but that turns into something way darker and way more twisted. The slow shift from fake affection to real feelings with that terrifyingly beautiful ghost boss, the wedding, the fire, and that final real world twist, my heart is still messed up. Was it love or manipulation? I have so many thoughts. I need to discuss this with someone.
Four of us went on a graduation trip together. There were 3 guys and 1 girl. And among us, there was a couple. We were tired from climbing the mountain until evening, so we booked a hotel on the mountainside to rest. But when we got to the hotel, we found that although the lights were on, there was no one there. We clearly had someone answer the phone when we called to make a reservation earlier. But when we arrived at the destination, there was not only no front desk staff, but also not a single guest. This is really creepy. But apparently, no one else seemed to realize how strange this was except me. They were all happy, while I was nervous and uneasy, because this is a world of a horror otome game, and I'm the unlucky one who got transported into the game. I only knew that this otome game was very popular, and the game was set in a hotel. But I was wrong. The game I'm in now isn't an otome game. It's a horror game, and it's even being live streamed. Off screen, the chat messages were flooding the screen.
This new player looks so weak. I don't think he'll last long.
This level seems simple, but it has the highest death rate. I bet he won't make it to the next day.
James took out the room card from the front desk drawer and grinned.
This is so cool. We don't even have to pay for the room.
Henry chimed in.
The front desk staff must have gone somewhere to slack off. Come on, Sophie. Let's go check out the room.
His girlfriend Sophie smiled shyly and followed him. James clicked his tongue as he watched their backs, then turned to me and asked,
Are you hungry? There's a kitchen here.
I shook my head. No, I'm a bit tired. James didn't say anything more and went straight in the direction of the kitchen. After he left, I was the only one left in the hotel lobby. The warm yellow light overhead was cozy and bright, like a woven fantasy, empty and illusory, giving me the creeps. Now I just regret not learning more about this otome game. I know nothing about it except the background. The front desk drawer had the room cards for each room, neatly arranged according to the room numbers. But there were 3 missing, excluding Jemisanda Henry's room cards. Only the one for room 305 was gone. There were only a few of us in this hotel, and no one else would take the room card, unless the card was missing from the start. Judging by the basic rules of the game, there must be something wrong with this room.
He's quite smart. He's on the right track and knows room 305 is no ordinary room.
Next, he should stay far away from room 305.
The essence of a horror otome game is still an otome game, as long as you succeed in the strategy and reach the ending. It'll be over. The door of room 305 was ajar, as if someone was living inside. I gently pushed it and entered the room. He's actually going to 305. Looks like we don't have to wait until tomorrow. He's going to be in big trouble soon.
This player seems both stupid and smart. He clearly found something wrong with room 305, but still dared to barge.
Inside, it was neat and clean, looking ordinary, and the missing room card was inserted in the slot at this moment. I pretended to be calm, put down my backpack, and prepared to go to the bathroom to wash up. But as soon as I turned on the faucet of the wash basin, what gushed out was not water, but bright red blood. I shuddered all over and closed my eyes. Then I forced myself to stay calm and turned off the faucet.
He's so calm. He doesn't seem like a newbie.
305. Is this the way you scare him? You weren't like this last time.
Previous player, 305. You've never played such a trick on me to tease a kid.
I looked up and saw a standing black shadow behind me in the mirror. The outline of the black shadow vaguely resembled a human figure. I could feel that he was staring straight at me. I closed my eyes again. Why is this ghost here? But I still pretended not to see it and prepared to take off my clothes to take a bath. This body was exactly the same as mine in real life. Thin and pale, I could feel a gaze constantly fixed on me. Fortunately, the water from the shower head was normal this time. I squeezed some body wash into my palm and spread it all over my body. The foam slid down my smooth, fair skin. The temperature around me was getting lower and lower, and the cold air was approaching. I wished I could hide in the corner of the wall. I finished washing with a poker face, seemingly calm. But in fact, my soul had been wandering for a while. What, he's actually okay? Why doesn't 305 kill him? This is the first time I've seen someone survive this long with 305. My wife is amazing. Just as I was about to go out after taking a shower, I heard Sophiasa scream. It wasn't just one scream, but a series of panicked shouts.
Help.
I was startled and quickly put on my clothes and went out. When I went out, I happened to run into Sophia. Her face was deathly pale, and she was staggering towards me. I caught her. What's wrong? Where's Henry? Sophia seemed to recall some terrible memory, and her tears flowed even more profusely. She could barely form coherent sentences.
Henry, I saw. In the room, it's Henry.
I could roughly guess that something had happened to Henry. When I followed Sophia to their room, I saw Henry lying on the ground. One of his arms twisted horribly. Clearly, he had passed out from the pain. James heard the commotion and rushed over too.
What's going on? What happened?
Sophia was so scared that she burst into tears and explained.
I just got out of the shower and saw Henry's hand turn like this right in front of me. There are ghosts. There really are. We have to get out of here quickly.
James was also frightened. Sophia's dazed look didn't seem fake. If it was true, then there must be something wrong with this hotel. I said, he can't go on like this. There's a first aid kit at the front desk. I'll bandage him up first. I found some wooden blocks and bandages to make a simple splint for Henry's injured arm. By this time, it had already gotten dark. There was no cell phone signal, and we couldn't get in touch with the outside world at all. We walked out of the hotel gate, flashlight in hand, and started walking down the mountain. James was carrying Henry on his back and walking behind, while Sophia and I were walking in front. It was eerily quiet all around. Only the rustling of leaves in the wind and Sophia's soft sobs could be heard. We walked for 2 hours, but still couldn't see the main road at the foot of the mountain. It's pitch black all around. Sophia in front suddenly stopped. Her eyes widened, and her fingers trembled as she pointed at a lit house ahead. Her voice unsteady.
Guys, look, what the hell is that?
I looked in the direction she pointed. I saw that hotel. We walked for over 2 hours. We thought we'd escaped, but then we ended up back where we started. James spat on the ground and said,
We must be run in circles like we're trapped in some kind of loop.
Sophia was almost scared out of her wits. With a shriek, she started dashing down the hill. We can't keep up with her. James had been carrying Henry on his back for over 2 hours and was already exhausted.
Forget it. I'm not walking anymore.
We took a short break where we were. In less than 10 minutes, we heard the sound of footsteps. Tap, tap, tap. Coming down the mountain. I looked up, and to my surprise, it was Sophia. When she saw us, Sophia's face was filled with terror. She plopped down onto the ground directly and exclaimed,
What? Why are you back again?
In the darkness, only that hotel had its lights on. The open door of the hotel seemed to be mocking our stupidity and overconfidence. Since we couldn't escape, we went back to this hotel. But after entering, I clearly felt that the interior decoration had changed. It had become a bit more worn out. James looked around the items in the hotel with a solemn expression.
I heard this hotel was renovated 3 years ago because there were several homicides here.
I found a newspaper on the magazine rack. The newspaper was brand new, and the date on it was 3 years ago. There's a missing person notice inside. A college student named William went missing on July 2022. The reported missing address is exactly this hotel. The boy in the photo had a cold and composed expression. His dark eyes were cold and emotionless. This should be a student in photo. I kind of remember that we were also students at university, eh? Just then, a fierce gale suddenly blew outside. The wind swirled in through the doorway, causing the electric lights in the hall to sway slightly and their glow to start flickering. As the light flickered on and off, I thought I saw William's eyes on the newspaper move. Her gaze shifted from looking at the camera to looking at me. Her pitch black eyes were like abysses, empty and indifferent. I got goosebumps all over. The light finally went out with a zap. Oh no. No, right off the bat. The boss has set its sights on this player. This gamer is doomed. Sophia let out a scream. Almost the moment the lights went out, I plopped down on the ground. My legs were as weak as noodles and couldn't hold me up at all. This game is not for the faint-hearted. Outside, the wind was howling. And inside, everyone was on tenterhooks. Suddenly, a chill ran down my back, and a cold, eerie presence enveloped me. It felt like a cold hand reached in through the hem of my clothes. It slowly climbed up along my waist, and when it swept across my chest, it sent shivers down my spine. Finally, it stopped at the base of my neck. An invisible force wrapped around my neck and gradually tightened. If I don't do something soon, I'm probably gonna end up dead right here. I was shaking all over with fear, but I turned around and, against my will, threw myself into the arms of the male ghost behind me, saying, "I'm scared of the dark." The force on the neck loosened a bit. A snort of laughter sounded by my ear. Afraid of the dark, but not afraid of me. This might work. I got a bit bolder, hooked my arm around his neck, and snuggled affectionately into his embrace. Actually, I was afraid that he'd see my face turn deathly pale from being scared. I continued to talk nonsense with my eyes wide open. "No, I'm not." He didn't make a sound anymore. The cold air around his neck slid up and down, like an invisible hand stroking my neck. It was like petting a puppy. Soon, the lights suddenly came on, and the cold air around me disappeared along with it. What the hell did he just dodge it like that? This is the first time I've seen this kind of gameplay. What the heck is this alternative way to clear the level? 305. You did that on purpose, didn't you? When the lights came on, we finally felt like we'd come back to life. Sophia was so frightened that she was a bit delirious. She sat on the ground, hugging her knees, and kept mumbling words like, "There are ghosts," over and over. I'm most afraid of girls crying because I don't know how to comfort them. All I can do is pace around anxiously. I walked over and gave her shoulder a pat. Sophia, don't be afraid. You're gonna escape. Sophia seemed to have caught some key words and immediately looked up, holding my hands with both of hers, looked at me hopefully and said,
Really? Can I really escape?
I instantly felt a sense of responsibility and nodded affirmatively. Yeah, I surely can. If I can succeed in my strategy, then everyone will be able to escape. Everyone was tired, but no one dared to go back to their rooms. So they simply rested in the hall and took turns keeping watch through the night. I was woken up by the cold in the middle of the night. When I opened my eyes, I found myself lying on the bed in room 305. Exactly. It was room 305 3 years ago. I could almost smell a faint, delicate scent of soap on the bed, as if someone had been lying there just a second ago. I was conscious, but my limbs were like dead weights, completely immovable. A faint, icy chill wrapped around my ankles like something tangible, slowly creeping up along my skin. A cold, eerie chill was rising. I got goosebumps all over my body and suddenly remembered the missing boy in the newspaper. With a look of determination, as if facing death unflinchingly, he tentatively called out, "William, is that you?" In the darkness, someone responded, "You know me." I bet right. The delicate, refreshing fragrance seemed to draw a bit closer. I was so scared that tears almost welled up in my eyes. To clear the level, I used all the acting skills I had in my life. My voice was clear yet trembling. "Senior, I finally found you." Daniel opened his eyes, stared at a spot in the darkness, with tears in his eyes, and said, "Senior, my name is Daniel. I'm also a college student. I like you. If it's you, it's okay to kill me." Tears welled up in my eyes and streamed down, making my emotions seem even more genuine. Even if one has to sacrifice themselves, it shouldn't be forced. Volunteering to do so would have a better effect. The chill on his body dissipated. "Like me," a cold voice sounded, so close it was as if the speaker was right next to my ear, whispering,
Oh, so this is the alternative way to clear the level. Defeating the big boss is like having a life-saving amulet. Good move. Honey, you've got 305 running around in circles.
Suddenly, I could move my body. A bedside lamp lit up. William sat by the bedside, his expression calm, as cool as white jade even when burned. He looked down at me, not like a ghost, but more like a celestial being who had descended to the mortal world. It's hard to imagine how someone like him could pass away at such a young age. I was stunned for a moment, not knowing how to react. He said, and then I was taken aback, not understanding what he meant. William looked at me and said, "If you like me, aren't you going to do anything?" I was stunned and blinked my eyes. "What are you doing?" William said casually, "Come here." I climbed out of bed and shuffled over to William. William had a composed expression on his face. He lowered his eyes and looked at me calmly. He said, "Kiss me." It seems I have to prove that I really like him. I had no choice but to bite the bullet and go for it. I gingerly clung to his shoulders and, as if offering myself up, pressed my lips against his cool, thin ones. He didn't open his mouth, and I didn't dare to do too much. All I could do was gently lick and kiss his lips. After I kissed him, William didn't show any reaction. He seemed completely indifferent. He's really hard to win over. I felt a bit wronged, but dared not show it. I looked up at him, blinking. "Senior, I really like you." William nodded slightly and murmured, Emma. Then the two of us lay down on the same bed to sleep. It was my initiative, and William didn't turn me down. After all, this was kind of his bed. I gingerly nestled into his embrace, looking completely smitten. William didn't react at all, as if he was unmoved. I guess he probably doesn't like me. The next day, when I woke up, William was already gone. Actually, I'm not sure if it was the next day, because the moon was still high in the sky outside. But the time on the watch was already 8 in the morning. I vaguely remember he told me to wait for him in the room, before I could even think about whether to stay or not. The door was pushed open by James. He furrowed his brows and looked at me.
Why did you come back to the room to sleep? We've been looking for you. Henry's awake. Come on down quickly.
I had no choice but to follow him downstairs. This hotel is like a cage, keeping us from getting in touch with the outside world and trapping us tightly. We got together to discuss countermeasures. James spat and gritted his teeth, saying,
Staying like this isn't a solution. We've got to find another way out.
Henry chimed in.
Let's search the hotel first to see if there are any clues.
We said we'd do it. So we split up and started searching everywhere. I'm in charge of the search on the first floor. A floor tile on the kitchen floor caught my attention. The tile didn't fit quite right, as if it had been pried up. I pried open the tiles and found an iron door. There's actually a door here. He opened the heavy iron gate, and there were stairs leading to the basement inside. James shone his phone flashlight around and said,
There's a basement here. Let's go check it out.
It was pitch black inside, as if once you went in, you'd never be able to come back. I felt a shiver down my spine and didn't even dare to look. James turned to us and asked,
Come on. Let's go in and take a look. Who's coming with me?
The others looked at me in unison. I pointed at myself in disbelief. Me, are you talking about me? Sophie was too scared to come, and Henry couldn't come either because his hand was injured. So it can only be James and me going down to the basement. It was gloomy and cold inside, and there was the sound of dripping water. The air was damp and had a faint smell of moss. There are discarded tables, chairs, beds and cabinets in here. They seem to be from hotel rooms. I don't know why they were thrown away. There was a splash of red on the ground. I looked down and saw it was a red bracelet. But what caught my attention was a torn photograph, clearly cut out from a group photo. The person in the photo is Henry. How could his photo be here? Right now, the time in this hotel is 3 years ago. And the same goes for the basement. Could Henry have been here 3 years ago? I was startled, and my hair stood on end in an instant. Suddenly, I felt something crawl past my feet. I was so startled that I nearly jumped out of my skin. I shone my flashlight around, but there was nothing there. James turned to me and asked,
What's wrong?
I pursed my lips, my voice trembling a little. Something crawled past me. It was thick, It looked like a snake. James's eyes nearly popped out.
Snakes here, no way. How could they possibly survive?
The moment he finished speaking, a rustling sound started up around us. It seems like something is scurrying around rapidly. We immediately turned around and started sprinting back. The unknown darkness behind holds terrifying dangers. I was almost at the exit, but I was running so fast that I tripped.
Run, run, don't get caught. Those things eat people.
Technically, these vines are part of William. Two, after all. This is where he was buried.
Just before I was about to fall to the ground, those things caught me, as if they were afraid I'd get hurt. My scalp was tingling, and I struggled desperately to get up. Wait up for me. Right after I said that, I saw James already crawling up the stairs and getting out, and heard his urgent voice.
Hurry. Close the door, there's a snake inside.
Bang! The iron gate slammed shut. My heart sank instantly, and my hands and feet turned ice cold. In an instant, there was only me and that thing left in the basement. They were crawling rapidly, surging towards me one after another. They wrapped around my legs and waist. The touch was soft and slippery, with a faint smell of moss. They weren't snakes. They should be vines. The more I struggled, the ettigs they wrapped around me, as if they were afraid I'd run away, slithering under my clothes along my skin. I cried out in pain from being tightly wrapped, and they loosened a bit, as if they knew they'd hurt me. When I was struggling, I leaned my head back and accidentally hit the ground, seeing stars from the impact. After seeing stars, I suddenly saw rows of bullet comments flash in front of my eyes.
Poor 305. He went to prepare a loving breakfast for his wife. But when he came back, he found his wife had run away, and even to such a dangerous place. Now he's watching from the side, sulking.
Seeing these bullet comments, my mind went blank instantly. 305 must be referring to William. Is he right beside me now? The bullet comments said that acting coquettishly might work. There was no other way at the moment, so I had to give it a shot. I stopped struggling and instead started pretending to be terrified and crying. Senior, where are you? I'm scared. The vines crawled a bit more slowly, but there was still no response in the pitch-black space.
Come on, wife. It would be even better if you could call him hubby.
Call him hubby. I pretended to wipe away a tear and tentatively called out, Senior honey, where are you? The moment the words left my mouth, the vines loosened and instead sent me into a cold, yet fragrant embrace. William held me in his arms and gently stroked my back with one hand.
Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. I'm here. They're there.
What do you mean you're here? You've been watching the show from the sidelines all along. I was furious, but dared not say anything. I could only bury my head in his chest and let him comfort me. Honey, why did you take so long to come? William stroked my hair, treating me like a child to soothe me.
Sorry I'm late. I scared you.
William took me back to the room. There was a breakfast on the table of room 305. He held me in his arms and fed me himself, taking care of me as if I were a real child. After feeding me, William gave me some water to drink. I sat in his arms, my eyes darting around. William seems to like me quite a bit. Could we take our relationship to the next level? As long as I reach the ending, the game will be over. Thinking like this, I suddenly wasn't afraid of ghosts anymore. I stole a glance at him and tentatively said, "Senior, I like you. Do you like me?" William's eyelids drooped slightly, his eyes like fireflies in the dark night.
Not calling me honey anymore.
Does this mean he agrees? I immediately realized, and a flash of joy crossed my eyes. I sweetly called out, "Honey, so are we together now?" William looked at me, pondered for a moment, then said,
I thought it was already a done deal yesterday.
I got excited right away. Now that we're together, the game should be over. Right?
This is so shippable, it doesn't feel like we're watching a horror game, but a dating show. I've never seen such a novel plot.
I don't get the shipping. This is a horror game, not a dating sim. Their identities are opposed. There's no future for them.
You guys don't understand. This is just a strategy. The big boss has surrendered to my girl, so clearing the game will be a breeze.
Looking at these comments, my smile gradually froze. This is a horror game, not a dating sim. Then what have I been doing these days? I felt like my world was falling apart. Ever since I found out this wasn't a dating sim, I've been kind of down in the dumps. The future seemed bleak. William thought I was scared out of my wits, so he stayed by my side these days and barely left. The only thing that made him leave me was to find me food. It's always dark here. Without looking at the watch, you can't tell how much time has passed at all. William is a man of few words. When I don't talk, there's nothing to talk about between us. It's a bit like I'm giving him the cold shoulder as soon as we're in a relationship. But William never minded. Instead, he cherished me even more and treated me like a canary. Actually, I'm afraid of William. He walks without a sound, has no sign of being alive, and no heartbeat. He's like a beautiful and eerie flower. When you reach out to touch it, what you feel isn't petals, and what you smell isn't the fragrance, but the damp decay and venom of a viper. People in the chat are chatting away like crazy.
This player is having such a leisurely time. I've never seen anyone taking a vacation in a horror game.
I've said it's a strategy. A strategy.
But if it goes on like this, although there's no danger to life, it's impossible to clear the game. Are we going to stay in here forever?
I suddenly realized, right, I have to clear the game and go home. It's like getting a pillow just when I'm sleepy. William happened to have something to do and go out today. Before he left, he kissed my forehead.
It's dangerous outside. You stay here and wait for me. I'll be back soon.
I nodded. Mahem. After he left, I took out the photo I picked up in the basement from my pocket. It seemed to have been there for quite a while. This hotel was renovated 3 years ago because it was haunted after several homicides. The timeline was after William disappeared. But William didn't disappear, he died. The discarded beds and cabinets in the basement were likely from the rooms where the accidents happened. They were stored in the basement due to superstitions. And Henry's photo was placed with those bed cabinets. So Henry is very likely to have stayed in one of the accident rooms 3 years ago and was one of those involved in the homicides. If he died 3 years ago, then who is this one now?
Is the truth finally starting to be revealed?
The illusions in the hotel are all created by ghosts. All we need to do is get rid of them, and the situation will be resolved. So this scenario is both simple and difficult.
Yeah. We have to find them and then exorcise the ghosts. Who can do that?
Exorcise the ghosts. And there's more than one.
That means Henry is very likely a ghost. Are there any other ghosts? The more I think about it, the more terrified I become. A chill runs straight up to the top of my head. Just then, a terrified scream interrupted me. It's Sophie. I opened the door and went out, then saw Sophie and Henry in the hall, looking anxious and running towards the gate in a hurry. Sophie sprained her ankle and couldn't run fast, so Henry just left her behind without looking back. Sophie was abandoned. She cried out Henry's name. I quickly ran downstairs. Sophie, what's wrong? She was a bit shocked to see me.
Daniel, you how?
I guess she wanted to ask me how I was still alive. But she didn't continue. Instead, she said,
James is dead. It's those vines. They crawled out from the basement.
She looked like a frightened bird. I could imagine how terrifying that scene was. I walked back to help her. Then let's go quickly. Don't let it catch us. Before I could reach her, a voice stopped me.
Daniel, where are you going?
The voice was soft, yet it sent a chill down my spine. William was standing on the stairs of the second floor, half of his body hidden in the darkness. His pale and handsome face showed no emotion at all. His pitch black and eerie pupils stared at me calmly. I froze instantly. William opened his lips and coaxed.
Be good. Come over to me. It's dangerous here.
He was a ghost too, and just as dangerous to me. I dared not disobey him. Yet I didn't dare go over either. It seemed like either choice was a dead end. Instead of answering him, I turned my head to look at Sophie. At that glance, William's lips pressed into a thin line. The light bulb above Sophia's head shook and then crashed straight down. She watched the light bulb falling, her body stiff and unable to resist. I instinctively ran over and pulled her out of the danger zone. I almost got hit myself. Bang! The copper lampstand hit the ground with a huge noise and shattered into pieces. Sophie was scared out of her wits. Our hands were tightly clasped, as if we'd never abandon each other in life or death. I was stunned for a moment, then looked up at that certain ghost. William's eyes were dark and unreadable. His emotions weren't very obvious, but the black mist swirling around him clearly showed that he was in a very bad mood right now. He said,
You said you liked me, yet you've been protecting someone else.
My gut feeling told me that I had annoyed him, and if he caught me, it would be all over. Without a second thought, I grabbed Sophie and started running outside, and I kept looking back to check on the enemy situation. William stood there motionless, staring straight at me. His eyes were dull and empty, lacking any luster, and there was a strong sense of disconnection compared to his face. I felt a shiver run down my spine, but he didn't chase after us. I helped Sophie run for what seemed like forever, and it felt like there was no end in sight. It was pitch black outside, and only the moonlight filtering through the leaves illuminated our way. Sophie said she wanted to meet up with Henry. I looked at her, not quite sure how to bring it up. I said tactfully, Henry, well, when I went to the basement, I found a photo of him. It seemed to have been there for a while. It was really creepy, and I think there's something off about him. Sophie looked incredulous upon hearing this.
How could there be a photo of Henry there? We've all come here for the first time.
I hesitated for a moment before saying, I suspect he was here 3 years ago, and he might be one of those involved in those murder cases. Sophie stopped in her tracks, and she was so shocked that she covered her mouth with her hand.
How could that be possible, Henry? Henry,
I wanted to tell her that Henry was a ghost and that we needed to kill Henry to escape. But just as I was about to say it, I caught sight of a red bracelet on her wrist. It was exactly the same as the one I saw in the basement. My eyes widened in shock, and I pointed at the bracelet, asking her, Where did you get this bracelet?" Sophia touched the bracelet, looking puzzled.
What's wrong? I've been wearing this bracelet since I was a kid. My family made it for me. There's only one like it.
"There's only one. Then what's the deal with the one in the basement?" I was stunned. I stared at Sophia, my mouth opening and closing, not knowing how to react. Just then, a cold gust of wind whipped up behind us, sending dead leaves on the ground swirling. We immediately took off running. Sophia ran away. I'd only run a few steps when a vine wrapped around my waist and pulled me into a cold embrace. William leaned close to my ear and said menacingly, "Why are you running?" I froze, not daring to move a muscle, my hands trembling slightly. He seemed to notice. The corners of his lips curled up slightly, and his gorgeous eyes crinkled.
Are you scared, feeling guilty for leaving me, cheating on me?
It was as if my throat was being choked. I couldn't say a word. A sticky, damp feeling crawled up my neck, as if all the blood in my body was flowing backwards. I was taken back to room 305 by William. William looked down at me, his noble features instantly clouded with a look of intense desire. He leaned in and kissed my lips, just as I had kissed him, nuzzling affectionately, slow and deliberate, like he was savoring a meal. The situation was getting more and more out of control, but if I struggled, it would definitely backfire. I could only try to reason with him. My face was flushed from the kisses, and I still had to coax the person who'd made me like this. William. Wait a sec." He stopped upon hearing this, his dark eyes staring intently at me. I watched his expression carefully and said tentatively, "William, I love you and I'm willing to do this kind of thing with you. But I can't accept it before marriage. Do you get what I mean?" William lowered his eyes and stared at me, as if considering whether to listen to me or not, afraid that he wouldn't agree. I tugged at my wrist slightly to signal him to let me go. William didn't react much, but the vines let me go. I cupped his face and kissed him. This time it was a real kiss. When I got tired of kissing and wanted to pull away, William took over from me. His more intense and passionate kiss almost made me breathless. I realized that sometimes when William didn't seem to react, it wasn't that he really didn't. He was thinking and learning. After the kiss ended, I was breathing unevenly, while William didn't even change his expression. He asked,
"So this is a kiss?"
I nodded, then shook my head. "This is one, and the last one was two, just different ways." William looked at me with downcast eyes for a while. "I like this one." Although he still didn't show much expression, I could feel he was in a better mood. He held me and said gently,
"Then after we get married."
We 305 are so easy to please. As soon as my wife mentioned getting married, I was so happy that I didn't know what to do. I looked at the content on these bullet screens, feeling a bit helpless. Happy? Does he really like me that much? After that, I was locked up by William, and the reason he gave was that it was dangerous outside. Clearly, he's the most dangerous one. Yet he still used this excuse to deceive me. I didn't dare to run anymore. When I was hungry, someone fed me when I was sleepy. Someone coaxed me to sleep. Besides that, I was kissed all over by William over and over again. Although I couldn't get out of the room, I could know what was going on outside through the bullet screens. The clearance progress has reached 75% now. Only 305 is left. The ghost that can't harm 305 can harm his bones. As long as 305's bones are destroyed, he can be eliminated. Just set the basement on fire. I wanted to leave, but when I thought about being reduced to ashes, I didn't dare to think about it anymore. William is a ghost, but he has never really hurt me. Instead, he has been protecting me. Although he can be a bit much sometimes, he doesn't deserve to be destroyed. While I was thinking, William came back. He was holding some things and said to me,
It's ready. All we need is a drop of your blood to make a contract.
what comes after the marriage contract is self-evident. I still wanted to struggle a bit. No way. It's too simple. There's no wedding. I won't do it. There has to be a wedding at least. I rarely threw a tantrum, but William wasn't angry. He said,
Okay. I'll make the arrangements. What kind of wedding do you like?
to give him a hard time, I mentioned a lot of elaborate and fancy things. William didn't argue back even once, but listened attentively. After I finished, he looked down at me and asked,
Are you willing to stay here forever?
I was caught off guard for a moment, then said, Why, yeah, I am. William stared at me quietly and didn't say anything more. I couldn't bring myself to say anything more against my will either. He got things ready faster than I'd expected. I suggested preparing the wedding together with him, so I didn't have to be locked in the room anymore. The whole hotel was transformed. It changed from an old inn into a magnificent and solemn wedding venue. On the wedding day, William wore a dark red wedding suit. He had an elegant and aloof air, yet his eyes followed me closely. I pretended to be calm and went through the ceremony with him. The moment the marriage contract was sealed, I seemed to have a telepathic connection, as if there was an invisible bond. I could feel that William was very happy, as if he'd finally achieved his wish. I felt a bit sorry for him and made one last unreasonable request. What about the marriage certificate you wrote? William took out the marriage certificate, just as he was about to read it. I stopped him. Close your eyes and recite it to me. William looked at me with his dark eyes, then slowly closed them. I watched him, but the lighter in my sleeve was trembling a bit.
I couldn't bear to look any more.
How could 305 not notice? He was just pretending not to find out.
If I throw this lighter down, this wedding will turn into a funeral.
I can't bear it, but I can't stay here for the rest of my life. I took 2 steps back, then walked straight towards the basement without looking back. I opened the basement door and threw the lit lighter down. Inside were all the wines that I had instructed William to move down there. And then I, accidentally, broke them. Such behavior was strange. But William didn't ask any questions. He just followed my arrangements. He was too stupid. That's why he was harmed by me. The moment the fire in the basement blazed up, William recited the last sentence of the marriage certificate.
Like the moon's constancy. Like the sun's rising. This is to certify.
The vines in the basement were burned by the flames, dancing wildly in pain, struggling to crawl out and trying to touch me, yet afraid that the flames would hurt me. I thought they would escape or attack me, but neither happened. They just huddled together, submissively enduring the pain I brought. as stupid as William. I walked out and went to the hall. William stood there, his expression unchanged, his pitch black, inorganic pupils staring at me.
You said you loved me, but you were lying.
I averted my gaze, pursed my lips and said, "Yes, you know now. I don't love you." The sizzling sound of the flames burning was the only sound at the moment. He said,
I always knew.
I was taken aback, my mind struggling to catch up. What had he always known that I didn't love him? The tongues of fire shot up, the surrounding temperature rising, accompanied by a stench of burning. William glanced at the spreading flames.
This way. Will you remember me?
Before I could ponder the meaning of his words, I was shoved out the door by a force. In an instant, the hotel was ablaze, towering flames devouring everything, the inferno and thick smoke billowing skyward, the searing heat crashing over like a tidal wave. I was terrified, looking up at William in the hall. He was dressed in that dark red wedding attire, holding the marriage certificate, solemn yet wild, standing in the wedding hall, gazing at me from afar. My heart suddenly twinged, perhaps related to the marriage contract. I stared at him, eyes wide with shock. William's lips curved slightly, and he mouthed something at me. It meant,
Daniel, remember me forever.
Bathed in the flames, his stunningly beautiful appearance was like a blooming poppy, dangerous and deadly, yet alluringly addictive. The scorching and bright flames in the night were deeply etched in my mind. Dazzlingly brilliant. He'd succeeded. I'd never forget him. The haunted hotel game instance has ended, and this instance is permanently banned. I had a dream. In the dream, I saw William. He had excellent grades and an outstanding appearance, but he seemed to be born unable to cry or laugh, devoid of emotions, unable to fit in with the crowd. Like an outcast, he had no friends, no lover, and no hobbies. Outcasts are supposed to be ostracized, but he was exceptionally outstanding, and there were even many people who liked him. His peculiarity aroused a thirst jealousy. A girl was tasked with luring him into lowering his guard, while the other two were to strike fatally. William went missing. 3 homicides occurred in the hotel. 3 cruel and vicious souls were imprisoned in the hotel forever, repeatedly experiencing death. When I woke up again, what I saw was the ceiling of my home. It was just a bit blurry. I touched the corner of my eye and realized I was crying. It was dawn. I returned to my original office, drone life. Only occasionally, when passing by University A, I'd zone out, even though I knew this university, it wasn't the one in my dream. After work in the evening, I was too lazy to go back and cook, so I went to a convenience store to buy some instant food. The larger convenience stores are all near the school. I'm already a regular customer. Actually, there are convenience stores elsewhere too, but I don't know why I like coming here to buy things. I bought a meal and a few bottles of drinks and went to the front desk to check out. Just then, I needed to queue. In front of me were several male college students, presumably from University A. Suddenly, I felt a palpitation, as if sensing something. I looked up at them, and there, I saw a familiar face. The guy was wearing a gray sweatshirt. He had a tall, straight figure and an elegant air about him. There was a faint sense of aloofness between his brows, and it seemed as if the cold white light in the store was all focused on him, making him really stand out. William! I parted my lips, and my eyes suddenly widened. The person I'd been thinking about day and night was right in front of me. Alive! I couldn't help but step forward and grab his hand. It was warm. The guy was caught off guard by me. His expression was indifferent, although he had a good-looking face. He didn't seem very friendly. He slightly lowered his eyelids, and his long eyelashes half covered his pupils.
What's up?
I pursed my lips and then put my hand on his chest. There was a heartbeat. The students beside him looked rather puzzled.
Hey, what are you doing touching people out of nowhere? Hey, classmate, are you okay?
The guy held the hand I had on his chest and asked,
Do you know me?
how could there be two people who looked so alike in this world? I wanted to say I did, but I also knew they couldn't possibly be the same person. The William I knew only existed in a game, and he would never show up again. I pursed my lips again, then awkwardly withdrew my hand and said, Sorry, I mistook you for someone else. The guy glanced at me, then left the convenience store with his friends. I heard a guy ask him, William, you gonna play basketball later?
Sure.
William, how could it be such a coincidence? I was holding the bag, watching their backs, and suddenly burst out laughing. It was like seeing another William living his life well for him. But he wasn't the one I was looking for. On my way home, I suddenly felt a pang in my heart again. I looked up and saw the person standing right in front of my door. The guy was tall and slender, his dark eyes fixed steadily on me.
I think I should know you.
I was stunned. He said,
Because seeing you makes my heart ache.
The guy slowly walked up to me, his face calm and composed.
I also saw that we got married. Didn't we?
I was completely dumbfounded, just staring blankly at the person in front of me. William reached out and wiped away the tear from the corner of my eye.
Do you still remember me?
How could I possibly forget? He was so mean, letting me leave, yet making a marriage contract, and finally forcing me to never be able to forget him. My tears flowed more and more. It was as if the missing part of my heart had finally fallen into place. I hate you. William hugged me, and the familiar, delicate fragrance wafted into my nose.
Okay, hate me. Where there's hate, there's love.
I need a minute or like 100 minutes because this story just completely wrecked me. So I went into this thinking it was a cute otome game. Flirt with the scary ghost, get the guy, game over, right? No, it's a horror game, a live stream one, and I, the player, am the idiot who accidentally speedran the marry the final boss route. Classic me. But here's the thing. William, that man, he started as every red flag you can imagine. No heartbeat, no warmth, literally made of murder vines. Toxic, right? But then he's catching you so you don't fall, feeding you breakfast, and letting you manipulate him because he just wants you to stay. The emotional damage in the wedding scene, when he closed his eyes to listen to the vows while I had a lighter in my pocket, I was screaming. And when he let the fire take him just so I would remember, sir, that's not a green flag. That is a whole emotional weapon. This was my first time seeing a horror game boss get out manipulated by love, and it hurt so good. So here's my question for you, because I need to know I'm not alone. If you were Daniel standing there with that lighter, would you have dropped it, or would you have stayed in the fire with him? Tell me in the comments because my heart needs answers. And hey, if you want to suffer through more terrible life choices and unhinged story breakdowns with me, hit that subscribe button. I promised to yell about books and games at 3 a.m. and I regret nothing. See you the next one.